Greg McDermott, suspended indefinitely. But did they get it right, though? What's going on, everybody? This is Temperature Check. I am your host, as always, man. Mr. Check the Temperature. How y'all doing? Before we get started with today's content, I must do what I always do anytime you see me on your screen. And that's thank you, guys, for the likes, comments, shares, most importantly, those subscriptions. So whether you be a day one fan, somebody who just started rocking with the channel today, man, I greatly appreciate it. And if you're loving what I got going on my YouTube and you want to see more of me, easy money. You follow me, I follow you right back. We're going to build together. So check me out on Twitter, Mr. Temp Check. Hit me up on Instagram, Mr. Check the Temperature. I'm even on Clubhouse now, Mr. Check. But before we get started with today's content, man, I know you see that temperature check apparel. I know you see the drip. You see the hoodies. You see the hats. You see the t-shirts. $10 shipping nationwide. Man, definitely appreciate all the love and support that I have received. But got to update y'all on some things. So Greg McDermott, suspended indefinitely. What are my initial thoughts? Honestly, a day late and $1 short. And I'm going to tell you why. But before I do that, I do want to acknowledge the effort and the steps, the big step that Creighton University took into suspending Greg McDermott indefinitely. They didn't have to do anything. So although I personally feel like it was a day late and $1 short, that's just my personal opinion. That might not be yours. It dang sure ain't the next person's. But, you know what I'm saying, everybody's entitled to one. But for me, like I said, a day late and $1 short. Why? Because when the story first came out and the apology was first given, at that point in time, that was Creighton's golden opportunity to stand on the pedestal of integrity and deliver a seismic speech. Stand on that platform, stand up for equality, stand up for equity, stand up for all people. They had that opportunity, and they failed. But they got it right eventually. But in that initial moment, they failed. Greg McDermott failed in that initial moment. Knowing that he had already made the mistake and knowing that he had apologized, to just further cement how apologetic and how sincere he would have, why not sit down a game or two? Why not self-impose a suspension of your own? Because you would be holding yourself to the same standard that you hold your players, correct? And you yourself are a coach, and you know how influential you are. You know how persuading you can or cannot be. So if you would have taken this step on your own, the narrative would be completely different. It would have. But because you had a team meeting with your players and you asked them, or you told them rather, that if they would have told you to resign, you would have done so. If they would have told you to resign, you would have done so. My question to you is, how was that presented? How did you present that information? How did you present that scenario? Was it in front of the entire team? So did you bring the entire team, the entire staff? Did you bring all the assistant coaches? So you brought pretty much the entire Creighton men's basketball program together and asked them in front of the entire staff, do they want you fired? Do they want you to resign? Now, I'm going to assume that you were the same coach that sat in a living room and talked to their parents. You were the same coach that showed up on their sign-in day when they signed their letter of intent to Creighton University. You were the same coach that sold them the dream of coming to Creighton University, one of the most prominent basketball programs in the country, probably for the last 4 or 5 years. And you ask those students, do they want you to resign? Knowing that the Big East tournament is days away, knowing that March Madness is a couple of weeks away, everyone knows what the possibilities are once you get into that tournament. A good showing in the March Madness tournament can catapult your career right into the NBA. If I'm lying, I'm flying. So you ask those are the players that you asked to speak for the entire community. And I think that's what they may have wished they would have done things a little bit differently as well. They did not understand the magnitude of what you were asking, because they were not just speaking for themselves in that moment. They were supposed to be speaking for the entire community, because they themselves are not just student athletes, they're also student leaders. Let's not get lost in that. They're also student leaders. However, they're also young leaders. They need to be groomed, they need to be nurtured, and they need to have the proper experience and mentorship. And that is what coaching is supposed to do. Mentor. Guide. Just saying. There was opportunity for Greg McDermott to stand above the moment in the sport of basketball and realize that if he would have self-imposed his own punishment, the narrative would have been different. This learning opportunity either way would be told differently. The story would be different. It would be presented in a different light. But here we are. So after the Villanova game, then at that point in time, Creighton travels back to Omaha because they were on a road game, and the president and Greg McDermott sit down, or the results of that investigation, those talks, those preliminary discussions were suspended indefinitely. Now, the word we need to focus in on is indefinitely. That means there's no timetable for this suspension. It could be an hour. It could be 2 hours. He could be reinstated by the time you see this video on YouTube. Or it could be a game, or it could be a couple weeks. Or he could get terminated. Again, I think if he would have self-imposed his own punishment, it would have been a lot better for him. It would have been a lot better for the community, because that's what a lot of people are getting lost in that. That's what Greg McDermott also misses in his apologies. You need to not just acknowledge the hurt feelings and the hurt emotions of the basketball team, but you need to talk about all persons of color, whether it be the students, whether it be faculty, whether it be staff that are on that campus that heard you use that word, and they know how that word resonates with them. They know how that word resonates with them. So when you coached that Villanova game, it was a slap in the face again to them, saying that you didn't care about their feelings. You only cared about an orange basketball. You only cared about two rims. You only cared about a wood floor. And it was bigger than that. And it is bigger than that. I've heard people, even in on my video, in the comment section, he's not a racist. I never said he was a racist. But you defending him, telling me he's not a racist, what do you think? Someone said it was a brain fart. You use plantation in your everyday communication? I don't. I haven't heard that word actually come up unless I'm watching a movie, or when they're talking about giving a negative analogy in sports, or when I'm reading a history book. Just being honest. Just checking the temperature. Just checking the temperature. At the end of the day, this is all about accountability. That's all anyone is looking for in this whole scenario. Greg McDermott, yes, you apologize. Your apology does not excuse the action. Let me say that again. His apology does not excuse the action. Just because you say I'm sorry does not make everything okay. I know that may be a shocker to a lot of you, but just because you say I'm sorry does not make it okay. How easy people are willing to look over this incident because he said I'm sorry. And like he said, to his credit, to Greg McDermott's credit, he said, with actions, there should be reactions. I made a mistake, there should be consequences. Now, do I think he's going to get fired? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. He's not going to get fired. But what I do want to see is intentional, methodical diversity, equity, and inclusion work. That is what I want to see. I want to see a plan. How do we make sure? How do we ensure that this does not happen again? What steps are we going to take, Creighton? What steps are we going to take, Greg McDermott? That is what I want to know. I'm sorry, I'm cool. That's nice. That's nice. It's a nice gesture. I appreciate that. But the real sorry comes in action. It comes in, what do you do next? How are you going to right this wrong? How are you going to correct this behavior? So yes, suspending him indefinitely, I do believe he should not be allowed to coach in the Big East tournament. I do believe he should not be allowed to coach in the March Madness tournament. I don't care if Creighton goes to the finals. He should not be there. Facts. Facts. But at the conclusion of the season, barring no new evidence, no new incident, fully reinstate him on the basis, again, that there is intentional plan of action on how you're going to ensure that this behavior does not happen again. It's just that simple. Accountability, people. That's the word of the day. This is Temperature Check. I am your host, as always, man. Mr. Check the Temperature. Like, comment, subscribe to the channel.